And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today I'm going to take a look at the newest expansion for DiceMasters, War of Light. Now, you know I'm a big fan of DiceMasters. I love the game. And so this is going to be an overview. I'm going to show you a lot of cards from the set. Not all of them, but I'm going to show you a lot of different cards. I do apologize ahead of time to those who are big fans of the DC Universe. I do not know these characters as well as Marvel. I know many of them, but I don't know all of them. I am actually not even really sure exactly what happened in the War of Light, except I know there's a lot of fighting over the different rings, and that even Superman and Batman were involved in that regard. So let's take a look at what comes in this set. It comes with a regular basic set that comes with 8 different characters and basic action dice and such, and then booster packs. Here we go. So let's take a look here first at the different dice that are included in the set. You know, at this point, I think we're seeing pretty much every color combination. Some of the dice look cooler than others. I really like, actually, the Wonder Woman die. I don't know why. That one just looks, when I look at it, I think of the classic 60s TV show. And as usual, there's still a couple dice, like this red one here, which I'm still not a fan of these translucent dice that are hard to see, but there are some translucent dice like these two, you know, that look good. If you notice, it seems to me like there's more yellow dice than anything else. There certainly is a lot of yellow. I was expecting the set to have more green dice than anything else because of the Green Lantern. Speaking of that, the Green Lantern die itself is a pretty good looking die. And of course you get the basic action dice, and then there's some of the special dice. So these are just basically the different dice that are included in the game. Most of them look pretty good. There's a few unclear ones, but for the most part, here's another one, this dark blue one. That one's not a very easy one to see either. But for the most part, they look good. They're easy to see, clear, and I like them. Also in the starter set, this one is the first set that comes so far with the bags with pictures on them. Okay, so here we have, you know, the air sickness bags that the game normally gives you. They're normally red and blue. Now they show everyone fighting over the rings on one bag and everybody coming to beat you up or fight each other on the other bag. You know, they're the same bags. They're pretty good quality. They actually, you know, as much fun as I make of these bags, calling them air sickness bags, they're actually pretty sturdy, but I'm still going to use the cloth bags. So let's take a look at the cards in the game. Some of the cards. I'm not going to show you all the cards, but first we'll take a look at the characters that come in the base set. Now remember, since this is about this War of Light, you're going to see, like, for example, here's Lex Luthor. This isn't your normal Lex Luthor. This is Lex Luthor in the War of Light. So you get him, and you get Sinestro, the Anti-Monitor, Guy Gardner, who's one of my favorite characters in the DC Universe, Kyle Rayner, John Stewart, Hal Jordan, and Batman. Remember, 3 different versions of these guys come in the base game. There's also some basic action cards, and this is, for me, the basic action cards are always the ones I'm most interested in when I go into a set, because basic action cards you can use with any set. And some of that I really like. I really like the Stealth Ops, where you can turn one of your characters to be level 1 and is unblockable for a turn. This can be a big deal, especially if you combine this with the Incredible Hulk or different people that are pretty powerful even at their level 1s. This one, Relaxing, is an interesting one, mostly because it seems to be interesting where you're drawing a die from your bag. So you get one die, and then you name a die, and you get to draw the second die, and if that one's correct, you then draw a third die. So this will give you 1 for sure, which isn't a big deal, but it has a possibility of getting 3 dice. 2 dice for sure if you roll 1-6. So I don't know if that one's better than just drawing an extra die or extra 2 dice. I'm not sure. Heroic Defense is cool, where it gives all your people a +1 attack, +1 defense, and for each of your character's dice that get KO'd, you get life equal to that dice level. So that's, when you're being whooped up upon and you're blocking, this can be a very interesting thing. Here you can pick 1 die purchase cost. So let's say all dice that cost 3. And then all those dice get moved to their owner's prep area. I mean, you re-roll them, and if they don't re-roll that side, they can go back. This is great against the people who might have a lot of 2s and 3s in their army. And then big entrance here. This one is probably my favorite of the basic action cards. When you buy this, it goes right in your bag. And when you use it, all purchase costs are 1 less than normal, and you can put them directly into your bag rather than your use pile. I really like this one. If I'm playing games, you'll probably see Big Entrance possibly as one of mine. All right, well, first of all, in this game, we're of course going to have, you're going to have typical characters who have nothing on them. But in this game, we'll also have a lot of things with ring color. Now, you'll notice as we've been going through that there are people with different symbols at the top. You have your typical villain symbol that's going to be on these, but there's also different types of ring colors. There's not just green rings, but there's blue, there's yellow, there's pink, and there's lots of different colors. There's even black, although black seems to be just the rare cards that are in this game. So here we have Scarecrow. When he's fielded, you choose a color, any color. When he's active, when a die of that color is put into player's use pile, he does 1 damage to that player. There's a lot of cards in this game that will do different colors. This one's a very specific color, while St. Walker can't attack or block unless there's a green lantern active. And so each of the symbols has a different type. And so many of the different cards, including the lantern ring and the lantern battery, have to deal with colors. This one here, when its is active, 3 of the colors get +1 attack and +1 defense. This one here, when there's 3 or more colors are active, I can pay a fist to send this die to the use pile and put a fielded any lantern character die in the use pile. So it's a continuous thing, and both of these are continuous that go into play, but they're both dealing with the different colors. And I would say a good, almost probably half of the cards in a deck deal with either lantern cards specifically or specific colors of lantern cards. Like, for example, this one, when Indigo -1 or whatever her name is blocks, you may move a purple lantern die character from your use pile or prep area to play at level 1. Well, that's pretty cool, but again, you're going to have to build the deck specifically about these. Some of them, like this one here, Guy Gardner, is 2 different color rings. Also, he gets +5 attack and +1 defense when engaged with a black lantern character die. Now, I noticed as I went through the deck, there's a lot of, well, not a lot, but there's at least 3 or 4 cards that are very negative against the black lantern dice. I don't have any of those. I'm assuming they're incredibly powerful and useful. Because of they're ultra rares or what have you, but don't worry, I guess they're not too powerful since this guy's a +5/+5 against them. And so again, here you go. This guy gets +1 attack, 1 attacking for each lantern color in play besides his own color. The Flash cannot attack or block unless you have an active green lantern in play. She can capture a specific color die. Here she does better when there's 3 or more in play. And so again, on the Mogo here, when he's fielded, I can purchase any lanterns type die for half cost. So those are basically, there's a lot of these in a deck that deal with the very specific lantern colors. Because of that, when you make decks with this, you're going to have to use a lot of cards in this set specifically. But they're not the only ones. There's others here. We got the pair of Monk and Indigo -1. They work together, especially Monk's cards don't work well unless he has Indigo with him. And then there's other cards that have to do with the different symbols on the dice. I like these. When Wonder Woman's active, if you roll 3 or more shields, your sidekicks are unblockable this turn. Here, when Superboy Prime is fielded, he can kill 2 of the Lightning Bolt characters. When Raven, by the way, she's part of the Teen Titans, and I'm glad to see the Teen Titans in this expansion. But your Stealth and Teen Titan characters cannot be targeted by my opponents. Ranks here can block any number of Lightning Bolt characters. Parallax here, if he rolls at least 3 of the glasses here, symbols, he draws and rolls 2 dice at the end of the roll and re-roll step. So that's pretty cool. Kilowog, one of my favorite characters, when he's active, strength characters cannot be blocked by stealth characters. Let's see here, when Jade here is active the first time each turn that you rolled Lightning Bolt or Lightning Bolt character's damage, draw a die and add it to your prep area. Here, when this one, I'm a really nasty guy. When he's active, when shield characters are KO'd, they go to the use pile. Now, it doesn't say your opponents, that's you too, but still. Beast Boy, when you have one of these in your reserve pool, he can't be blocked by character dice of higher level. Or when you have a fist in your reserve pool, Beast Boy gets +2 attack and +2 defense. I like this. It has something to do with dice that are in your reserve pool. There's also some other cards that are just cool ones that you can add to different decks. When Wonder Girl's active, prevent the first damage from each source to your level 1 characters. This guy's nasty. When he shows up, everyone has to kill one of their level 1 character dies. Overcrush, which means if someone blocks her, the extra damage is done to your opponent. This is the only card that I have that Overcrush is on. So, but it's still nice to see that they're continuing to use that ability. And I mentioned that Starfire, and here's Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan, when he's fielded, deal damage equal to his attack to 1 villain die. So now we're going to look at my 10 favorite cards. These are the 10 cards that I've seen so far that I like a lot. So here we go. The first one here is when Lizardrak attacks, you can draw a die from your opponent's bag and swap it with a die from the used pile or return it to the bag. So I like that. When she attacks, you can basically take a die out of your opponent's bag and you'd be like, it's a really great die. Well, you don't get to use it for now. I'm going to throw one of your sidekicks back in the bag. Oh, another one of her. When she's active at the beginning of your opponent's turn, name of a character. Your opponent has to pay 2 life to field that character die. This is great against someone who brings a lot of small characters. Then we have Guy Gardner. He has to attack every turn, but he gets +1 for each other attacking die. I like that, especially since he is 2. This guy's a really good cost. Sure, he has attack every turn, but you can really go after your opponent, and everyone else who goes with him is also +1. The Anti-Monitor here. When he attacks, you do 1 damage to target opponent for each sidekick they control, and he can't be blocked by sidekicks. Your opponent's running some sort of sidekick-style deck, well then, no longer you're going to be able to take him out. Fatality here. When she's engaged with a character of higher level, her attack and defense are doubled. That's pretty cool. And this one, another one, when he would attack, I can change his sidekick's attack and defense to match his. If you do, he can't attack. So basically, he can have someone attack for him. So he's an 8/8 at his highest level, which is pretty cool. And he can turn each sidekick into an 8/8. Really great guy. Raven here. When other characters KO, you can KO Raven and bring the other die back into play. So she's basically a shield for one of your bigger, cooler dice. Batman. If you use a basic action die this turn, Batman can't be blocked. I really do enjoy basic action dice, so anything that lets me use them, and Batman's the king of that, is good. My second favorite card, Wonder Girl. When she's active the first time a sidekick's KO'd by an opponent, you do 1 damage to your opponent. So just keep attacking with your sidekicks. They have to let them through, because if they don't, they're going to take a damage anyway, which is really nice. And then my favorite card in this set is Jade. When she's KO'd, draw a die and add it to your prep area. So when she's KO'd, you get her die back plus another die, and she's a cost of 3. This one is a great card, in my opinion. I look forward to using it. Now, I have mixed feelings about this set. I like it, of course. I like all the sets. There's always new stuff. I love the new basic action cards. I love lots of these cards. They're great. This set's more self-contained than the other sets, again, because of the different colors of rings. Now, part of this can be very positive. You can make a nice deck that has all these different rings that work together, and they do great. But there's also some negatives, like he really works well against yellow rings. Well, your opponent may not be using yellow rings, which makes some of the characters more limited than others. I don't see that being as an overall negative. You just have to realize that going in, that maybe you're just going to play War of Light against War of Light. And in that case, you're fine. There's plenty of stuff here to do that with, and it'd be very interesting and very thematic. But some of these cards aren't going to, I doubt you'll see some of these cards ever used in tournaments just because of the restrictions on the different colors and rings and stuff, unless someone does come up with some 8-person team that's all about the rings and there's like this synergy, and maybe that stuff exists, and I'm very interested to see that. They're still doing the ultra rare where there's 8 ultra rares in the set, 4 of the regular characters. I think I got 2 of those in the one box I opened, and then 4 that are like the black ring people. I haven't seen any of those. I know that there's Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, I think, with the black ring. I'm sure they're pretty cool to look at. But there's a lot of dice here. This fits seamlessly. This is the second DC set. Again, this mixes easily with the Marvel stuff. My only restriction here would be I'm not so big a fan of necessarily the cards that are very specific to the ring colors, because they won't work as well synergistically with the other sets. But I like the basic action cards a lot. I like several of the different characters, like the last one I showed you, the Jade card. I'm going to be using that in a lot of my decks and such. So anyway, that's just kind of look at the game. Of course I like it. Dice Tower Judgment into my collection.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!
There.